left, where I haven't heard from them in a while. And, I don't think anyone is now there to take our complaints. And even when they were there, I still can't believe that they made a new esports overlay and they didn't talk to anyone in esports about it. That frustrates me. Anyways, let's look at this beautiful overlay where the only complaint I have is, yeah, the production tab could be bigger. Could be like, maybe like, you know, this big right now. That's fair. And let's cast this game. The top right, down 1. He is the red Terran Future. And the bottom left, there's the blue Zerg. It is JonSnow. So why do they change overlays so often or ever? To be fair, there are some things that could be improved upon. So after complaining about that, let me talk about what can be done right. What can be done right is that, and let me bring that up again because I just lost it. What can be done better than this overlay, for instance, is team logos. I think that's actually a very good addition of the new overlay because teams have rightfully complained about their lack of presence in Starcraft 2. Oh, this is pretty important. We actually have a forward wall off here from Future, but otherwise normal game. So yeah, teams don't really get a lot of representation. You know, they get their clan decal if their player's actually on their main account, and they got nothing. So the logos are great. I do like the idea of being more of a middle ground to help out mobile users. I personally never complain, and I have used the mobile app to watch StarCraft before, but I understand. I understand trying to appeal to them a little bit more, so the larger production tab, okay, makes sense. And the idea of, like, well, icons are universal, I get it, I just really don't agree with it. It feels kind of like how a lot of websites are obviously more designed with mobile in mind, and it's like, I get why, but also now it's fugly for us desktop users, so stop it. You know, it's like trying to be super sleek and super futuristic, but they just fail on the, like, readability aspects, I guess. What other things are good for it? They fixed the spacing of the clock, so it's not awkwardly high. That's another good thing about it. I've actually run out of good things about it. That's pretty much it, actually. Anyways, to answer your question, is that they think they can make improvements on the current overlay, but sometimes they fail. That's the answer. Okay, anyways, so Future did not go for anything too cheesy with a forward wall off. Sometimes when you see a forward wall off, it is because they're making 3 barracks. But it is literally a forward wall off for a wall off sake. JonSnow made 6 lings, which now puts him in an awkward position where these 2 lings can't do anything at all. Not they would have anyways, because Hellions are popping out at the exact time, but 6 lings isn't really what you need. So, again, someone who didn't make a Reaper, and someone who has a wall off already. So, that's like the tiniest of awkwardness. It's not super big deal. Overlord's trying to try and get a scout, which it does get on top of that starport at the very least, but I think it just missed the fusion core. Oh, I missed the fusion core. Yeah, it missed the fusion core. Oh, that's so funny. If it had been in a more obvious location for an overlord, like here, and then moved here, I would have seen it. That's funny. Alright, so Fusion Core is gonna be a surprise, as JonSnow is not going to get a follow-up scout in the front, because Hellions are here, and while some Zergs might make it a point to get a ling out in the front, they usually don't bother, because Hellions pop out and kill it. So, even though this would be the easiest scout, to see no cloak researching, he's not gonna get it. Maybe this ling will. Be a hero. Be a hero! There's also not much more that's telling him any information. There's just no scouting whatsoever, so it's really unlikely he's going to predict the battle cruiser. He might have a spore crawler. They have 2 spore crawlers, just because liberators are a problem, and, you know, it could be banshees. He isn't sure. He isn't positive. So there's that. That's nice. But a battle cruiser needs more than just a spore crawler to handle it. It would like to have a few more queens. The Ling looks like it got barbecued. How close did it get? It got really close, actually. So it's all researching, and another Spore Crawler's already on its way. Roachborn's on its way as well. That might be a reaction to the Battlecruiser, but I don't think he'll actually go into roaches once he figures out that it's not multiple Battlecruisers, that it is going into bio. I mean, he could do roaches. It's not saying he can't, but anyways. Battlecruiser gets to the main for the second Spore Crawler is done, but it will finish. Reducing the amount of damage JonSnow will take. Queen goes down, a couple drones go down, but 2 Spore Crawlers is good enough, and these Hellions have not found any access into a natural or third base. Battlecruiser is still just shimmying around. Said, I'm not touching. I'm not getting close to the Spore Crawler. What you gonna do about it? What happened to the second Spore Crawler? Did it die? It died. Or moved? Died? Really? Maybe it tried moving and that's when it died. Okay, that's probably what happened. Maybe it moved forward in here and then died. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's still enough queens. Still a, non-Yamato battlecruiser, so... as I said, I don't know if JonSnow's actually going to go into roaches. If he does go into roaches under the assumption that A, it's mech, and then corruptors, that because B, it's going to be multiple battlecruisers, he's going to have a very unideal composition. It's not that you can't make roach corruptor work against bio. In fact, in the past, that's actually been a composition. Dark used it a while back, but I don't think it's very ideal. And I'm pretty concerned. The thing is, we don't know what happened last game. This could actually be future playing into a mindset that he's laid the foundations of in the previous game. He lost the previous game because of question mark, we have no idea, but maybe it was because he went for mech, he went for multiple battlecruisers, and JonSnow really reacted very strong against it. And now that we have him going for a single battlecruiser, JonSnow's defaulting to mech, goes into Roach Corruptor, and then finds himself up against bio. That would be a startling surprise. JonSnow would be not ideally set up for that. Now, if he figures it out, he could not go into Corruptors. Maybe just like Mutas? Or does not use the Spire whatsoever. This is funny. This is awkward. He's actually letting his evolution chambers finish. That was to block out the Hellions that they finished. Loses 7 drones to Hellions that would not help anyways, so I think Future's okay with that. But now that he's seen that it is roaches, he either could just be like, aha, I got you. It's not mech. And think that he's like the lord of all mind games. Or he could take a 1-1 roach push very seriously. And I hope he does the latter for his sake. Which he is doing. He's actually building missile turrets as well, which almost makes it look like he's protecting himself against corruptors, like a mech player would. But I think he's also protecting himself against like a Spire trying to hit his tanks. Because he saw the Spire. If there are 7 mutas and they die for his tanks, that could be trouble. For dealing with a 1-1 roach push follow-up. But JonSnow did not use his Spire. Just giving himself the option. And his 1-1-1, by the way, he actually uses his 3rd evolution chamber push. Could work. Future is trying to be out on the map and trying to do stuff, but I think he's actually limited in time. He can't do this for very long. He's going to grab a couple of Ravagers and then lose a lot more units than he intended to. That was not good, actually. He lost the Marines to the Corrosive Bile, then he lost a full medevac to the Corrosive Bile. That was not supposed to happen. He was going to be fancy. He was going to, use his air advantage, his ability to run away to actually save all those units. So now it's kind of awkward. Battlecruiser does teleport in. There's not much that Corrosive Biles are supposed to hit with that. Not supposed to hit the Battlecruiser, but they can. JonSnow was not quite prepared to do the engagement, but 1-1 has finished up. He is close to being maxed. He could try to engage. I think the Battlecruiser is giving him too much trouble, though. He could have made maybe like a handful of air units just to deal specifically with the Battlecruiser if it was going to push him away from doing the push, but it looks like his push wasn't dedicated to it anyways. Now he's going to jump on top of the army. Left side, tanks go down pretty damn quickly, getting only a couple of shots off before they go down. Right side, the Marines are trying their best to hold up against the 1-1 roaches with their own 1-1. It's not going too poorly, but again, Corrosive Bile is actually hitting some of the medevacs, killing one and reducing the other 2 to very, very low health, but the Queens are not going to get those last shots. JonSnow takes a fairly good fight. If Future can defend on the defense, it's not so bad, and it looks like he will be able to defend. Yeah, I think he's fine. And if Future defends, then the problem now is that JonSnow has no more upgrades on the way. His centrifugal hooks is very, very late. And Future is going to be able to power through here with his economy. And ideally a 4th base. There it is. If you're not going to just all in with 1 or 2 tier roaches, and you are going to play out a macro game, you do want to have banelings. And a more classic approach is also getting to those infestors, which the infestation pit may or may not be for. I think it might just be for a hive. Yeah, there it is. Sensor tower to see any incoming roach attack. I think this is too awkward. I feel like JonSnow didn't have a terrible attack. You know, the 1-1 push could have been scary, but he really wasn't super well set up. He didn't actually max out. He did have to take a fight over here, and even though it went worse for Future than it should have, he did still snipe a lot of Ravagers. And that battle cruiser, again, I feel like if he really had a perfect build, it wouldn't have been the biggest deal. But he didn't have a perfect build. He was a little surprised. I think that Spire was a result of him thinking it would be mech, and it didn't end up being useful. And he kind of was forced to play into a really awkward later stage of roaches. But even though it's not the ideal situation anymore, again, once upon a time, Baneling Ravager was not a bad composition. It was actually a desired composition. It still actually does well enough in certain games. Dark still wins with it occasionally. Other Zergs that are finding themselves in these awkward positions or do just enough damage to give themselves a lead with the push, do win with this composition. It's not the worst place for JonSnow to be. But I think he would also really like to be on 2-2 with Ultras and Banelings. Hatchery is going to go down. No creep spread really being cleaned up, which does threaten Future's Marines if he just misclicks one time, but his Marines are dodging and weaving and splitting. The tanks are coming forward. Creep is still available, and JonSnow, I think he's going to pull the trigger. I think he's going to go for it, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He is down in supply, but he's on creep with Banelings and Corrosive Biles. It might not be enough, though. The Infestor's coming out just a little bit too late. Oh, no. A really good fungal on the right side. Had it been comboed with Corrosive Biles or Banelings, might have done wonders. But it's not going to be enough. JonSnow just does not have enough. I think Blink Baneling really was the problem. Another good fungal actually popped some of the Marines, but the Roach One's going to go down. Ultras have started up, but they don't have chitinous plating. And the tanks actually survived. There weren't enough Corrosive Biles to take them all down. Now Overlords are in danger. We do see JonSnow's cap actually plummeting, so he's going to get supply blocked eventually. Leaving the Marines a little far away from the tanks can be dangerous, but the tanks just barely in range, taking out those last few Banelings. The Ultras, again, not with chitinous plating, probably are not going to save the day. GG is called. Future brings it back to a 1-1. So we move on to game 3. So this is the last qualifying match to finish. Vindicta qualified, Asuna qualified, and Namshar qualified, 3-1 over Disc. Some observer banter. I guess the players are gonna banter. In the bottom left of Oxide, it is Future. In the top right, as the Zerg, you have JonSnow. I guess Kanye West has disappointed his fans, as he's disappointed everyone in the world by now. That guy's a bit silly, no? So last game, I am going to default to thinking it was a bit of a mind game. Even though we don't have confirmation because we didn't cast the first game of the series. I do believe that the awkwardness started with JonSnow thinking it was going to be multiple battlecruisers. And I say as if it's 100% multiple battlecruisers and mech. It is most of the time. Most of the time, if you're thinking battlecruisers with mech, it is 3 battlecruisers and mech. If you are thinking of just a single battlecruiser with no Yamato, then you think bio. Most of the time, that's either option. Mech battlecruiser actually has gone up to 4 battlecruisers recently in the meta. Sure, but the other thing I guess that is important to note is that, you know, there's been a GSL game recently, I forget which one, where a bio player did go for multiple battlecruisers. 2 or 3, I want to say. I think with Yamato as well, which is just like, that's a big surprise. Because if it is just the more direct, it's either 1 in bio or 3 or 4 in mech, those do, you know, have 2 very strong reactions. And if you confuse the Zerg, so they're kind of waffling on what reaction to do, or inappropriately choose the reaction that is wrong, that does put them in an awkward position. You know, they want to have a strong reaction and know exactly when to drone and when to build army and when to build technology to have the best game possible, because of the way that larva works, right? And of course, every race wants to have that situation, but even more so with the larva mechanic. So whether it's waffling and being like, I'm not sure, that's bad. Or it's, oh, I know it's this, and then being blindsided because it's actually that, that's bad. And I think that was mostly what JonSnow was, the whole, oh, it's this. Oh no, it isn't that shit. So getting the roaches, getting the spire, and then I think eventually saying, oh no, it's not, it's bio, meant that he wasted money on a spire, maybe didn't have to take the engagement when he did. I don't know about that one. That was kind of weird. And then he has maybe a stronger 1/1 roach push, or he just doesn't have roaches at all. He actually just goes right Nilling Baneling. Not in JonSnow's head, so I couldn't tell you 100%. But I do know that Spire was built and then got not used. Thank you, Chicken Man, for that raid. Hope you had a good cast. That was a pretty fast lair. I was speed on the way, so I think we're going to see a speedier lair Spire play. Which means we're not going to have any awkward roach engagements. I also was really, like, not convinced that the roach game was anything he had pre-planned, because I haven't seen Jagannatha used for that too often yet. I think that roach pushes on Lightshade can be very powerful, so I'd be afraid of that map. But yeah, that just kind of added to the whole, I think he just thought it was mech. Maybe Future even opened the same way with walling off the natural in the first game. I don't know. At this game, Future is going to open up with Hellion Banshee. So sometimes you see the Banshee because they actually want to go for Banshees, and they want to pair up the Banshees and get some drone damage, get some queen damage, whatever. Think they can even hide the Banshee sometimes, right? With 2 Marines, he maybe could have hid that he's going into Banshees, sure. Other times you'll see Banshees come out because it is a, well, you shouldn't just think you can roach rush me, because every other build besides a Banshee opener can be tough to defend roach pushes with, the earlier roach pushes. So that could be the early roach push, and also if they survive, the Banshees can help a lot with the mid-game 1-1 roach push. So maybe it's more about that. But right now, he's getting the actual damage done with the Banshee, appearing with the first one right off the bat, not waiting for the second one, is actually netting him a good amount of drones. 4's going to go down. He's going to scout the Spire, get a confirmation on that. So I'd say a pretty successful first Banshee, especially if she lives. And gets maybe 1 or 2 more drones. I think that's really successful. Apparently, Oxide has a lot of space in the top right, so she's going to survive. Okay. Second Banshee is in the third base, I believe. Hellions trying to go to the natural, aren't going to find any success, but the second Banshee is going to once again deny mining. JonSnow did not get sight on the starport. He did actually, but he thought that his Overseer and Queens would be enough to deal with it. But thing is, he didn't make an Overseer until the first Banshee arrived, and then it is awkward because the Banshee just runs around and the Queens are like, wait, no, catch up. Oh, hold on. So he finally gets a Sport Brother in the natural, but it took a while. He is going to kill the Banshee. And now there's no Banshees. Oh. Wow, I really can't see them on the minimap. Oh my god. I looked at the minimap before I said that. And that was so hard to see. It's like right up there. Anyways. Muta was seen. So Future should have missile turrets available. He hasn't built them yet, but I guess he doesn't need them, like, from the get-go. His production is solid, since he is going for a... Oh, no, there's the third base. I was like, we don't really want 2 base against this. So he really had a lot of confidence he'd hold against these mutas perfectly okay. He's got a decent number of Marines. The scary thing that can happen, though, is that if they did build the mutas with about 16 lings, then you gotta be a little bit scared. But I guess his Hellions are alive, too, so yeah, playing without fear right now. He's going to get his third down location about as fast as possible. Mutas do catch a couple of those Hellions and a couple of SCVs. Maybe... Yeah, again, if that was like 16 or 20 lings, I think he definitely goes for it, but... Nah, he's not going to find any opportunities there. Oh, I love it! I love it. Contaminate on an command center. Don't see that too often, and unfortunately right now it's not that useful, but I love the idea. Props for thinking about it. Anyways, mutas have not really paid for themselves, and this game has not started off great for JonSnow, taking damage to the Banshees like he did. Is the Banshee still alive? Did she finally die? She finally died. Fourth base is on the way for JonSnow, and some creep spread is starting to be pushed out. What we've seen on Oxide is some extreme awkwardness when it comes to defending your third and fourth bases, no matter what race you're playing as, honestly. Like, it's a pretty obnoxious spacing between left and right. It's pretty far from defending. If you're at your natural, you can probably pick and choose, but if you're at your third and they have to go to your fourth, it takes a while. Future following up with a very swift push. He's got 1-1, he's got combat shields. He's aggressively on creep. Maybe he doesn't have a scan available yet. JonSnow's not quite prepared to deal with this. He has typical hooks, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of banelings, so a couple more finish up, but oh no! Oh! Loses like 3 or 4 mutas there. No! This is gonna get worse. The tanks continue encroaching further into the choke with these rocks. Further creep spread being denied. Actually, scans, I guess, that's kind of an awkward scan, honestly. And banelings do connect on the top side a little bit better. JonSnow doing the best that he can to hold on. Only down about 10 army supply is usually an okay situation for the Zerg, as long as they get any type of decent engagement, but it's getting less and less decent as time goes on. Future, I don't know if he can actually reinforce this. JonSnow might be available to catch those reinforcements, but I don't know if he can reinforce. Yeah, it gets so much worse for JonSnow. JonSnow's trying to take, what he can with the banelings, but after that first hit, not getting very much more. Hatchery is so low that it actually just dies. Now JonSnow pulls the trigger, but it is his last attempt to hold on in this game, and it's not going to work out whatsoever. GG. Future playing some solid TvZ is now up 2-1. quickly into game 4 on Lightshade. And this is where I'm gonna be interested to see if the other Zerg players have looked at this and gone, roaches. I mean, Cure held against a very strong 1-1 roach push from Raynor on this map after I made a big deal about it being difficult to do so. And Cure didn't even have any tanks. But that is an outlier, 100%. Cure is just playing so out of his mind that day. I still will say that this can be a good map for that roach push, but doesn't mean everyone's going to do it. In the past, there's been like one map a season where a roach push was good, and I can't even remember the name of the map where it was last good. I think it was 2 map pools ago. There is a, everyone does this on this map, and I can't remember what it was. But that can sometimes happen. And I feel like Lightshade might be that map this season. In the bottom right, now up 2-1, he is Future. In the top left, we got the blue Zerg, JonSnow. Hatch gas pool, no forward wall off from Future. So we're just be waiting for, well, probably for what the starport produces. There could be other things that happen, but assuming that everyone's playing macro, it's really about what the starport produces. Could be no second gas, I guess, so third CC, that'd also be a macro build, right? So maybe that's what we're paying attention to. Let's just watch the second gas and see if it gets made. People are gonna tune in and be like, what's so important about this gas, guys? This is the worst observing I've ever seen. They wouldn't be wrong. It is probably the worst observing ever, but like, nothing else is really that interesting. Ah, he gets it. Alright. Question has been answered. Alright, so now we're gonna wait for the starport. Future's going to check in and see, you know, of course, creep spread building. Yep, alright. Wasn't a pool first. And then maybe try and play around the third hatch. JonSnow's already placed a drone over there, though, so he's not gonna be able to deny it. People are gonna try and figure out the map I'm thinking of. I could maybe like look it up, honestly, if that was, you know, no, who's gonna do that? I guess since we're waiting for, you know, something to happen, I can talk about why I think it's a good roach map. You know, people who have heard me casting before have already heard this spiel, but let's do it one more time. So any map that's good for a roach push is going to be, I mean, 2 things to keep in mind. 1, shorter rush distance, yeah. One of the times where it might favor the Zerg player. Oh, we're going to have Marauder Hellbat. Alright, that's pretty important. So I'll do this quickly. Yeah, so shorter rush distance, you know, if the Zerg player is planning on being aggressive, that's when it suddenly favors them, when usually you'd say it doesn't favor the Zerg, whatever. And the second thing, you know, big thing is how much concave potential there is around the third base, because tanks don't do well in concaves. They want a choke or abilities to be on a high ground and covering the third, so you see that in some of their maps. This map has a lot of space for a concave. Like, the nearest choke is way over here, and this dude that doesn't really count as hitting a choke. And then the tank you put on the high ground here doesn't hit the tanks over, the roaches over here. So, yeah, all those things you'd really want to have when you're going for roaches. JonSnow is going for a Roach Warren, and you do usually see more of like a first roach push into a 1-1 roach attack, or however you want to put it, but you could also just head up for the 1-1. I think right now, JonSnow is heading for the earlier roach push. He is not quite seeing what his opponent's doing. I think the Marauders have been kept hidden. So right now he saw 1-1-1 with what looked like Stim on the way, but we knew it was Marauders slow. This is a Hellbat Marauder push. I just was surprised at how late the armor comes down. It feels like it's a little bit late, honestly. It does. It is late. Well, maybe like by 5 seconds. Really nitpicky. Really nitpicky. But what's awkward about this is that if Future realizes it's roaches and runs back home, I think he's better off. If he doesn't and tries to take an engagement and loses units, then he's not in a good place. JonSnow has units to defend this. Alright, he scans and sees like a decent amount of roaches. He's like, you know what? Never mind. See you later. I think that is the right choice. And now JonSnow is like, okay, I know you're leaving, so I've got to do my attack now. That's what he's going to do. It's not going to be just a simple roach push, not a simple like, hey, 7 roaches, what you doing? It is going to be a dedicated Ling, Roach, Ravager attack and all in. This is not what I was talking about. This is just about full power, full trying to catch your opponent off guard. And it hasn't. I mean, it's actually been scouted with like an okay amount of time up against someone who actually has Hellbats that are going to take a lot more time to break down, and Marauders that can actually be microed and deal some decent damage. Like, this isn't a terrible situation for Future. I actually like how he takes the engagement on the ramp, first and foremost. Like, it can be dangerous. You know, these are units that are a lot chunkier, a lot better against the situation, but if they're broken, they're broken. There's just so much stuff coming out from JonSnow that not many people would actually try and engage prematurely. They'd be like, oh, I have to be scared. I'm the one being attacked. I actually kind of like that from Future. The problem with a lot of these pushes is going to be the Ling reinforcements. So some people try to, like, you know, use their Hellions offensively or throw them away just willy-nilly and then they die. With 2 Hellbats still alive and 2 bunkers up and running with decent production at home, I think he is fine, and JonSnow thinks so too. He's going to get drones and he's going to go to lair. And a bunker gets broken. One of them does anyway. Second one's still alive and well. 4 SCVs go down, and that is it. That's not exactly what JonSnow was hoping for. 5 SCVs, my bad. Future might look like he's really down in supply, but it is the Roach effect. He's got a 3rd CC. He's going to be able to lift over. And he's still on 45 workers to 59. JonSnow is not going to follow this up with like a 1-1 Roach push. He is going to go into Ling and Baneling Muta, which I don't think is bad. But either way, he's going to have later upgrades and later technology than literally what is preferable. Ling Baneling is a little more on the chaotic side. It's got that burst potential that, you know, if they're not paying attention, suddenly they do lose 20-30 Marines because the 5 Banelings get really effective hits. I think it is just a more comebacky situation than Roaches. I think when you are talking about Roaches and Ravagers and their ability to make comebacks, you're thinking Corrosive Biles hitting when they shouldn't, which just seems less likely than Banelings hitting. And it's not like Corrosive Biles get faster when they're on creep, unlike Banelings. And you're also thinking of maybe like the Terran underestimating the Roach Ravager army, which rarely happens. In my opinion, Roach Ravager is a much easier composition to size up. So when you're not being broken by it, when you survive that whole phase, I think afterwards you're like, whatever, I can deal with this. Ling Baneling Muta is probably the better composition to go into. But he's got late upgrades. Difficulty's not going to be quite done. Creep spread's okay, but he can't really protect it, so it's going to be pretty cleaned up pretty well. That's about 5 tumors already lost. And, Future just has a lot of production. You know, even a Marauder at a time here is not a bad idea since there are, you know, a decent amount of Ravagers in. The Ravagers can really help out. Ravager Ling Bane can be a powerful composition, and he kept his Ravagers alive for the most part with that engagement, so that's an important factor we have to consider. The Mutas are going to come in and find no missile turrets, as that is entirely what Future was not anticipating. He thought all resources would go into Ling Baneling Ravager when he went for that scan. When he saw the army, it's probably he thought that's all the gas he had. But no, Aspire was fit in. So 5 SCVs go down, maybe a tank. Not quite. Good pickup. Almost like a War Prison pickup, to be honest. And now they've shown the mutas, missile turrets are now on the way. Question is, for us and for Future, does he continue investing into mutas, or does he swap back into building a ground army so suddenly I'm overwhelmed? We see more mutas on the production tab. JonSnow finally loses one of them, almost loses two. Has not been able to push through Future as he's been up on that high ground using those chokes, and now he's using the lack of creep spread to jump on top of JonSnow. JonSnow's armor supply, again, not looking so terrible, but keep in mind a lot of the Roaches and Ravagers that won't really help a ton in the main engagement. Maybe the Corrosive Battles do get some pretty nice shots, but we'll see about that. 21 Banelings available isn't actually that impressive. About 30 now available. Upgrades have finished for JonSnow, and he's even working on +1 for his mutas, trying to find opportunities to snipe Marauders or tanks or medevacs, instead losing his mutas. And this could very well be the death push from Future. I think a run-by would be brilliant. Future is going for the reinforcements, but it's going to be a big old swamp, a big old surround from JonSnow coming in from almost every angle. Mutas finding tanks, Corrosive Bios trying to find the heart of the army, not really doing so, and the Banelings unfortunately just could not connect with the bio. Nowhere near close to connecting with the bio, to be honest. It was so far off of creep. These leftover Banelings going to try and hit them now. They are on creep, and they do a solid connection on the left side. But so much of the bio remains, and JonSnow is going to have to tap out. GG. Future takes the qualifying spot. That's not too surprising. If this was 2 years ago, Future was the developing player and JonSnow was one of the kings of the NA region, it would have been a surprise. Here we are 2 years later, and Future is actually a